What is clothing? How does it work? Do I even need to wear any? The, the answer is yes, you should probably wear something when out in public. But hey, what you do in the privacy of your own home is up to you. Going off the assumption that your characters will also be clothed the majority of the time, it makes sense to learn a thing or two about drawing it, no? We had a bit of trouble with the poll, but we got there eventually. Two important concepts to keep in mind when drawing clothing are the 3D forms that sit underneath it, as well as tension points, which the folds flow from. This tension can be created either by distinct points that the fabric hangs off of, or by seams which hold the pieces of fabric together. According to Michael Hampton's book, Design and Invention, there are 7 different types of folds to be aware of. The first of which is the cylinder fold, which refers to any consistent placement of tension points that create folds appearing as half cylinders. As shown, the evenly spaced points at the top of the fabric create an S-curve at the bottom. This S-curve can also be seen when there is only one tension point, except it'll typically flow from front to back rather than left to right. The most obvious example of the cylinder fold would be window and shower curtains, though it can also be seen in articles of clothing such as skirts. The tension points are more obvious in this example of a pleated skirt, but a regular skirt will also create an S-curve at the bottom. This curve can still change slightly if force is applied to the fabric. Next we have the U-fold, which is seen whenever drapery is suspended between only 2 tension points. This type of fold will leave some space in between the top of the fold and the surface that it rests on. This space will also be wider or thinner depending on how far apart the 2 tension points are relative to the length of the fabric. A good example of a U-curve would be a low-cut blouse. If we think of the shoulders as tension points, then any fabric that hangs loosely from them will create a distinct U-shape. This also applies when there is a lot of excess fabric, such as when wearing a shawl or scarf. In the case of a hood, the sides of the head act as tension points rather than the shoulders, thereby creating another U-fold. Next is the pinch or compression fold. This fold occurs between any 2 tension points that are close enough in proximity to pinch the fabric between them and have it overlap with itself. The clearest examples of this would be the folds that appear inside the elbow when bending the arm or behind the knee. Pinch folds can also be seen at the armpits when the arms are placed close to the torso. It is more subtle, but fabric will also flow away from the armpits when in certain positions as tension is created by the shoulder seams. I should note that this fold will also appear whenever the upper and lower torso, aka ribcage and pelvis, move towards each other. Another fold commonly seen in the arms is the S or spiral fold. This occurs whenever 2 tension points twist the fabric in opposite directions, creating an S-curve. This type of fold usually involves the arms because both the forearms and shoulders are able to rotate, which will move the fabric along with it, as seen in this example. In this image, we can also see some smaller S-folds near the armpit, but because they're so close to the pinch fold, I would just leave them out. It's especially important when drawing clothing to be selective as to which lines you do draw and which you choose to leave out. Including too many folds will make your drawing look cluttered. Next is the Z or zigzag fold. As the name describes, this Z shape occurs whenever fabric is asymmetrically compressed due to there being an excess of it. A common example of this would be the ends of pant legs bunching up at the ankles due to them being too long. This zigzag fold can also be seen in the sleeves of a baggy shirt, such as a sweater. This Z-shaped compression is also partially caused by the downward force of gravity, which brings us to the second last fold, the form or end fold. This describes how drapery conforms to whatever sits underneath it, as well as how the ends of it are the most influenced by gravity. Notice how the cube example I've drawn here has 4 tension points, 1 for each corner. Provided that there's enough of it, drapery will always follow the overall curvature of whatever it hangs off of, as well as conform to other surfaces. Lastly, we have the cape fold. This simply refers to any curves or overlap created by an external force moving in a specific direction, such as wind or air pressure while running. The first example that comes to mind is of course a superhero cape, but the same applies to any fabric that isn't effectively tied down to the figure. Now that we have an understanding of all the different types of folds that can occur, the best way to memorize them would be to identify these folds on real subjects. I am cheating a bit here by laying down some vertical lines so I don't have to think very hard about getting the proportions right. This video is about clothing folds, so that's going to be my primary focus. As always, when sketching out rough layers, I like to focus on the overall shape a figure is making, also known as the silhouette, before moving on to interior lines. Once that's done, I move on to the clean layer as I decide which folds are the most important and which to exclude from the drawing. Now that that's done, let's analyze what we're left with. There's the seams at the shoulders, which end with a couple pinch folds. I've included a single line to show where the fabric sinks slightly in between the pecs, while leaving the rest of the torso portion empty. Clothing folds can also be used to describe anatomy that sits underneath the fabric. We can see an S overlap at the top of the sleeve closest to us, followed by a pinch fold at the elbow. Notice how I'm showing that tension with only 3 or 4 lines, rather than having them extend all the way down the sleeve. I liked how the overlap at the end of the sleeve made a sort of square shape, so I've emphasized that in my drawing. I'll also note that I've left the arm furthest from us blank without any kinds of folds. Because it's further away and partially hidden behind the torso, it's best not to include any interior lines as to avoid creating tangents. It's important to get the perspective right when drawing the bottom of the shirt in order to show both the front and side planes of the figure. It should look similar to the top plane of a rectangular prism. There's another slight pinch fold just below the buttocks, and I've also drawn the seams going down the legs for some realism. The way the pant leg starts at the crotch and curves underneath the knee can be thought of as another S-fold. The way I've drawn the fabric of the other leg makes the figure look like he has a very large knee, so I've drawn my own correction over top. And I also butchered the shoes, so I felt the need to fix the shape of those slightly as well. Let's move on to our second subject. Once again, I'm plotting down some lines to help with proportions. And this figure has a very obvious S-curve, not in her clothing, but rather through her entire body, known as a line of action. Different topic for a different video, but I want to get that motion across in my own drawing. I don't quite capture that curve in my rough drawing, but I do emphasize it more once I get to the clean version. Like before, we're going to analyze the finished drawing. There's pinch folds at the elbows, a few small lines to show tension at the shoulders, followed by some clear U folds in the shirt as this figure is lifting her arms up, causing the fabric to stretch. It's easy to miss, but I've also moved one of my lines closer to the bottom of her shirt as I felt I had too many lines concentrated to one area. There's also some squash and stretch going on with the skirt as this figure is favoring one leg. The asymmetry of her pelvis is what causes the pinch fold on one side. Lastly, we can just draw the legs as if they were bare without folds because the tights this figure is wearing are, well, very tight and conform to her body. Now we move on to our final subject. The clothes this figure is wearing are very baggy, which can be more challenging to draw as it's easy to become overwhelmed by the amount of folds to choose from. Due to the bagginess, I'm seeing several Z and S folds throughout the figure, so that's what I'll be concentrating on. At the very end there, I actually removed a few lines from the legs as I still ended up including too many. I erased a couple small lines from the leg in front as they were too close to the pinch fold at the knee, and got rid of a larger line from the leg in the back in order to leave more space between the remaining folds and the shoe. Once again, we've got some U folds in the torso. There's pinch folds not only at the armpits and knees, but also where the figure brings his leg up to his chest. Again, fabric will twist just as the person wearing it does. Also best to include the pinch fold under the arm as well in order to show more overlap. Then we've got obvious zigzag folds at the ends of the sleeves, and lastly a few spiral folds in both the legs and sleeves. This probably goes without saying by this point, but the tighter and therefore closer the clothing adheres to a surface, the fewer folds there's going to be. The figure on the left has no visible folds as her suit conforms to her entire body, while the figure on the right has many different folds, mostly U folds due to the bagginess of her outfit. The thickness of fabric is also important to consider. Leather, for instance, is going to have little to no folds, while a thin material like satin is going to have a lot more. I could see myself covering a few specific articles of clothing in separate videos, but I've now laid the groundwork for you to start studying clothing folds for yourself. Happy drawing, and please consider subscribing because these videos take forever to make.